Good day, everyone. My name is Berkenda. I'm the Vice President of Member Engagement Operations here at OmniAir Consortium. Before we get started, I have just one simple reminder, and that's questions are encouraged. We will have time for Q&A near the end of the presentation. However, you may submit questions in the Q&A box as they come to mind. You don't have to wait until the end. I see quite a few familiar names and faces here on my side of the screen, but for those of you who we've not met, OmniAir is a leading industry association promoting interoperability and certification for connected vehicles, ITS, and transportation payment systems. Our members include connected vehicle, intelligent transportation systems, and of course, road tolling technology device manufacturers, ITS deployers, testing laboratories, and other stakeholders, all promoting the proliferation of certified interoperable devices. For well over a decade, we have provided the opportunity for members to work collaboratively to develop and determine the requirements for national certification programs. Our nearly 100 members have the opportunity to shape the future of ITS and IoT technologies and to work with industry leaders and transportation professionals to accelerate their programs, processes, and devices. Today, we are pleased to not only have one, but two leading industry experts here with us. So I have Jake Royer from EasyPass. He's the technical lead and also our OmniAir Tolling and Emerging Payments Working Group Chair, and Randy Roebuck, who is our OmniAir technical lead and also the SAE Tolling Applications Committee Chair. Randy and Jake, if you could please join me on the screen.
Thank you, Berkenda.
You're welcome. Well, I'm going to turn it over to both of you. You have very capable hands, and I appreciate you guys for being here today. So thank you for this presentation.
Good morning or afternoon to everyone, depending on where you're at. Jake and I are here to give you a certification process overview, focusing on the tolling aspects. And I'm trying to, and this is a second of the series of webinars we're going to do to get the tolling agencies familiar with the two sections of OmniAir. We got one that we've been doing RFID tolling for over a decade. Then here this last 5 years or so, we've been working hard in the LTE space. I gave a LTE V2X technology introduction to tolling agent back last July of 2025. This one in yellow is what Jake and I is going to present today. And in the July-August timeframe, we're going to do an ISO 3388 RF conformance to V2X interoperability, which will be Rick Cantel of NIST, Justin Anderson of the US DOT, and myself. Then I'll follow up with a very detailed technical dive into our RFID tolling testing details so people can understand what we're currently doing in the RFID space to satisfy the agencies. And then also I'll do a deep dive in what we do for testing with the V2X devices so everybody gets an understanding of that so we can leverage and blend our past efforts to form V2X tolling. And then also give another series on test tool detailing of what kind of test tools are out there that we do to V2X that everyone should know about. I'm going to hand the screen over to Jake, and he can provide the beginning portion of this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. And as Berkenda kind of alluded to in the early opening remarks, OmniAir's leading industry association promoting the interoperability and certification of the tolling ITS, connected vehicle, basically anything that we can test, we want to test. We actually are also working on testing sensors. There's a new work group designed to test those kind of things. And OmniAir is looking to be the one-stop certification shop for all the equipment out there. As Brenda mentioned, we met our memberships, public agencies, private companies, research, manufacturers, testing equipment, and equipment providers. So the priorities, as I just laid out, we've got the V2X tolling work group, which is just started. So there's a brand new work group out there that we will all be able to start participating with, and that is the third Wednesday, I think, of the month. So you can get more information from our website or contact the OmniAir staff. Go ahead and go to the so certification. It builds trust. So the agencies that are deploying this stuff on your roadways, you need to have the trust of your customers. You need to have the trust of your financial suppliers. You need to have the trust of everybody. And the only way you truly get the trust is by certification. And certification means that everybody has to go through the same steps, through the same processes, and that everything is applied evenly, equally, and consistently. So the certifications covers for tolling various systems. You have to go through environmental conformance, and we have a good field testing requirement that is made. So here is on the screen is some of the different elements of our testing procedures, which Randy will get into later in the presentation. Go ahead and go to the next one, Randy. So the all of our testing is based on standards. So in your building blocks, the standards is your your end level or your starting level, and then you have your certification, your testing level to make sure it all works, and then you have your industry cooperation between the manufacturers, the agencies that are deploying these items, and the end users in the end. Vehicles need to have various people all working together. You got the vehicle manufacturers, the integrators from the roadside, all the way to the cellular type carriers, if that's what you're using, or however you're going to be connecting in the connected vehicle world. And in the tolling world, you have to have your readers all be able to talk to all of the different tags that are out there and deployed. And everything has to meet the certain standards, and they all have to be consistent. The certification framework, so we do an independent third-party testing, which is through our accredited laboratories. We have authorized field test sites for gantry and roadside testing. And we've got right now 4, I think, field test sites that are authorized. And we've got right now 1 authorized laboratory for doing the testing. We do have participation from tolling agencies and device manufacturers on our test specs. And we do bench and field testing for RFID tags, readers, as well as the V2X OBUs and roadside units. And we have, as Randy will show later, the clear pass-fail criteria that's documented in our review processes. The OCS, which was the predecessor organization, the OmniAir certification services company, was contracted to develop TDM certification program back in 2010 and 2011 by EasyPass, which was not implemented due to the lack of field testing that was required by the EasyPass group. It was pretty much just the conformance and laboratory testing. 6C Coalition scope launched in 2012 and expanded. We expanded that to multi-protocol scope in 2022, including 6C TDM and 6B ADK, which is leveling known as SEGO. DSRC 802.11 was launched in 2017 and then transitioned to the LT V2X in 2022. So that was the precursor to the stuff that we're working on now, and that's kind of how we got to where we are. So the importance, we really have an important role to play as agencies in the whole process, because we're the ones who kind of have to come up with all the requirements of what this stuff has to do. The manufacturers are pretty good at making sure that they can come up with stuff that will do what you need it to do, but you at the agencies need to come up with the with what it is you need, and then we take that in OmniAir and we come up with the bench and field testing that's consistent with what's the best for everybody, because the agencies need a certain, as I already said, they need a certain level of certainty that the equipment's going to work. The device manufacturers all need to be able to know that their stuff's going to work, and it's going to work with other manufacturers' equipment. And we have to have a process for multiple certification awardings. And so right now we've been doing an award of both the OmniAir and an EasyPass approval for the certifications. We've been doing that for about 3 years now, I think, that we've been doing the joint approvals. We do this using the accredited test laboratories with an approved test tool that's was provided by one of the then members of OmniAir, and we do the field testing witnessed by both the test laboratory personnel and in most cases EasyPass personnel as well for the EasyPass approvals. So the testing's tied to known industry and reference devices. So the stuff that's out there, it's been out there for 20, 30 years. We use that as part of our tests because it's tried, true, and known to work. So the certifications, we got the standards, requirements, the laboratory, the working groups, and all this stuff all works together to produce the the certification that you'll see on all of this equipment. So, Randy, do you want to touch on anything on that?
No, we go to the scope and profiles
Okay.
on the website.
All right. You go ahead and handle the website there.
Okay, OmniAir, we're very transparent organization. All our test cases and what we take through each device is listed here on our website, and basically what version we're currently at. So if you are a member, you can actually get access to the test specifications themselves. But this kind of list everything what a device goes through, uh, and you can find it on our website under documentation. If you'd like me, our certification process, as an applicant, you go to the website, you fill out the application and agreement. We generate a test plan according to what you've implemented and what's required by OmniAir. Then that particular test plan gets reviewed by both the applicant, the test laboratory that they choose to go to, and we all have a joint meeting and basically agree to the test plan to start the testing. You in the tolling space, you have the 810 document, which is environmental, regulatory, safety, and security. Then the three different protocols depending on what product you're testing. If you're a reader, it's all three. There are single and multi-protocol tags out there. We take it through a tag parameter performance, which is an anechoic chamber. And then if it passes all that, then we take it through a bench interoperability, which is still in the lab, and then we do a review. Everything passes, then it takes it to the more expensive and time-consuming applied interoperability, which we call field testing, which for one product is about a week of testing. Then the test reports get all put together by the laboratory. They send it to both the applicant and OmniAir for review. We make sure that we all agree with it and it's accurate. And if it passes all the applications, then we do the certification awarding.
So the certification players, once the certification scope is developed, which is developed in our working groups. So the working groups are members of the toll agencies, our manufacturers. We have some consultants and just industry experts that are all part of our working groups. They define the set of functionality and make sure that the testing is comprehensive and repeatable and as rigid as we can be. The qualified test equipment, make sure that right now we use this CISC tool for the three protocols for 6C, which is an automatic process, and then the SIGO 6B80K and TDM are both command line tests that have to be run. The tag performance is another spec that is out there, and we do the bench interoperability on the different tags and readers. The tags and the CISC tool is being used by the test lab, and right now I think 3 of the manufacturers are using that same CISC tool. The authorized test laboratories, initially we had started out with MetLabs, which became Eurofins, and we were using them from 2012 to 22. and then DECRA Labs out of Virginia in 22 to current. So they do the bench testing, and then we also use their staff as part of the witnessing of the field testing. The field test sites, we have authorized SunTrax in Florida, Summit Point in West Virginia, Star Neology both in Texas, Transcore in Albuquerque, and that's all, as I mentioned, done with DECRA as a witness for the lab. So far, we've certified more than 70 tags and 10 readers, and they're all listed on the OmniAir website. And just as it's noticed, you can just go back for just a second, Randy. One of the things that people always want to, know is, have you ever failed anything? Products have failed for different reasons. So listed here are some of the reasons that things have failed. But we've, for the most part, most of the manufacturers, don't usually come to the test if they know that something's not gonna work out right. And then the document availability, agencies are going to be able to request the certification findings and test reports from their manufacturers directly. OmniAir is not able to provide those documents directly. That's something that you'll have to, if you're wanting more information on somebody that's trying to, give you a quote or provide equipment to your company or agency, you need to get that directly from them, and then, get it that way. Go ahead, Randy. Sorry. So.
This basically shows what our release 2 testing is, as far as what's in the environmental, basically what we do for the bench protocol, as far as read, rewrite, TDI, ACK, and query. We do bench tag parameter performance, which most agencies are interested in, make sure it meets the minimum read distance and doesn't go past the maximum read distance. And we believe this is a very valuable step for the device certification regarding manufacturers, and can also be used from post-certification, as far as the agencies should take advantage and send samples in to make sure the product they're getting is still consistent with the certified product. Bench interoperability, we test the product against the other manufacturers, whether a tag under a device under test against the readers, or if it's the readers against the variety of tags that's known as the industry known or reference devices. And we believe that's a very valuable step here. The field interoperability, very comprehensive. We go through, it basically demonstrates the readers or tags are doing what it's supposed to be. It's not meant to be a qualification test, but basically show it has all the capabilities there. And if an agency has something unique, they can add that to give them further evidence. We try to do basically what are the known default settings that the industry is using in this scenario. We do have a Plaza single and multi-protocol spec out there. The procedure is in place, but we believe the industry is kind of phasing out of the Plaza scenario. And if you can meet the open road field, Plaza's typically merely a setup type situation.
We also want to make sure that one of the things that we're addressing now is the periodic surveillance. And what that means is, as time goes on, uh, products change, the properties of the products change. Either they change, the capacitors or the chips that are being used, and it may not be a you know a part number change, but just the quality of the materials sometimes will increase, and sometimes they decrease. But one of the things that we have identified is that periodically things change, and what we ask member agencies that periodically, if you would provide some of the samples if to OmniAir, if there's any kind of question on things that have changed over time from the time that you first received a qualified product. So
if you go to our website, the certificates of conformance there, we list what particular test cases or elements they did run, and get the revision letters and that stuff. Decker is our RFID test laboratory, and we do provide a certifications finding letter that kind of lists everything, whether it passed and if there's any special notes we put in there. The certification finding is not something per our policy we can give out, but the agency or the applicants themselves can give out their test reports and their certifications findings up on a agency request, but OmniAir itself cannot.
So I just kind of hit on the regression testing and surveillance. So the program we've is a little bit more extensive in the connected vehicle world, and right now we've got a group that's working to solidify the requirements for our tolling testing and surveillance program. But just want to make sure that everybody knows that that is a part of our program, and it is something that we're refining.
It covers both an RFID and connected vehicle. And if you want to join Lori Brady's working group that's addressing surveillance, and also people who attend PlugFest. Even though you may have been a certified device, it's always good to come back and make sure it's working as it was originally certified and still continues to work. And plus, there are some additional requirements come over time. So I'm going to cover the certification process here quickly. The components and responsibilities, we do have a certification scopes in place, quite a few of them. We have a lot of element test cases. I believe in connected vehicle, there's like 170 of them or so. We do qualified test equipment where we make sure that the test equipment are testing the test cases properly. They know how to generate the report, read the results, and go from there. Some elements, it's an automated procedure, and there's some areas that really just justify the automated portion can be done easily manually. So it just depends. Authorized test laboratories, we got 3 test laboratories. Uh, uh, DECRA in Spain, TTA in Korea, and TUV in Taiwan. And in RFID, we have DECRA in Virginia area perspective. Authorized test sites, a lot of those are mostly in the RFID space at this time. And we got a set procedure where the device manufacturers who do have home tracks can use it under our procedure supervision and testing and test the product. Certification test reports. They really improved over time. I think we got some pretty solid test reports and very detailed, both in the RFID and connected vehicles process. This kind of shows the flow of all the different elements and what considers the V2X comes under procedure 721. And we through all the steps from radio PHY to security, to SCMS certificates, to the upper layer WSM, WSA. Then it splits out to whether you're an OBU and RSU and what elements and test messages you go through. On the bottom, black and white line is our tolling, which is under 750. We develop a test plan, go through those procedures. We're very flexible, very adaptable. If, let's say, 6C Coalition wants a minimum type of set of that stuff, we can easily do something like that. Or we have who Jake represents, who've been a very thorough and complex scenario. We have the process there. Typically, the manufacturers only really want to do testing once and basically does the both the standard and edge case stuff that's required by Easy Pass. So they don't have to do testing separately from that. And that's working out fairly well. But we're very consistent. We're flexible per regions and as far as the process. This kind of shows the test case template. It shows the process we go through to develop and release a process. On the right-hand side is a checklist, which we do for BSMs to make sure everything is covered and filled out. In our certification process, this shows the flow where the device manufacturer creates the application agreement, gets the test plan, goes to the authorized field sites where they make their selection for one of our authorized test laboratories. We all review the test plan, agree to it. We walk through the testing. If everything looks good, then we can actually list it. And granted, it's up on the website and very, very refined process. Our application process, we've had to put a time limit. I've done some, the quickest I've ever done a certification is about 3 weeks. We've done quite a few of them that's been within the 6 months. And if there's issues or things outside the device, we do extend it. We want you to actively be working towards this and that perspective in connected vehicle in order to continue the certification timeline. We ask people to come to PlugFest. We work through stuff. We see advancements and we can get certification granted there. So, so it does serve a purpose. So you can see the flow there in a little bit different way. In the blues, you can see we have some checks and balances, review sessions to make sure that everything's going right. And we really don't want to have a problem device that we to do some of the later on testing. At one time, device manufacturer did have the right to do the field testing before bench, and we kind of discovered that we really should follow the process before, because we don't want to have to repeat the field testing, which is the most expensive and time labor intensive over again, because there was an issue that where the test laboratory bench testing really should have been done first. And I mean, we understand that if you have to go out and get a test track and there's a certain schedule and that stuff that you might want to do in a parallel or flop just because of those reasons. I mean, that's the risk the device applicant takes. V2X tolling, RFID is a very mature and efficient for open road tolling that we achieved the 99.5% and 90% confidence level, going through very comprehensive testing and evaluation. I think it's proven itself over time. The reason why the tolling industry is looking for the next generation technology, because the regulatory environment is being changed and has been challenged by NextNav and the FCC, and may have to look for other alternatives and that. So all of you guys have been working that really hard. There is a V2X tolling standard out there. It's the SAE J3217 PC5 that can be leveraged from the safety initiatives that I've probably spent the last 15 years of my life working. It is going under a standard change. It was done in 2022. A few people have implemented, see some modifications they'd like to do, and we're in the process of doing that. So it's really essential that we get the tolling and transportation agencies to give their needs. We need adoption. We want to make sure the implementation is good and the testing meets everybody's needs. So the EasyPass themselves have started an internal V2X tolling working group, which is a user group, and OmniAir has just started an industry open V2X tolling certification testing working group. Jake, would you like to comment on your internal that just started and you actually had OmniAir present their insight to your group this past Monday?
So as Randy indicated, the way that I see the different groups, you've got, the J3217 group, which is the standards. That's kind of where all the rules are made. OmniAir has their new group that's set up, to do the certification. And so that's the certification level group. And then the different tolling entities, you should start looking at their user groups and how this can start impacting you. EasyPass has set up their V2X working group to start coming up with what the changes are going to need to be made to our agencies in EasyPass. But that's stuff that everybody in this whole industry is going to need to start looking at for user groups. So that's just something to be considering, is that, there's groups at each of these levels. I do encourage you to look to join some of these groups. The J3217 SAE group is chaired by Randy, and you can get information on joining that group. And also in the comment in the chat section, the next meeting of the OmniAir certification working group for V2X is next Wednesday. So you can click on the link that's provided there and look to joining that. And then again, your local user groups for your toll agencies are going to be very important to how you locally function and your local requirements that are going to need to be met.
Okay, we got the power of V2X direct, which is PC5 and network. There's been a lot of interesting collaboration. There was actually a pool fund study going on in Utah the last 2 days, and actually we presented our sensor information this morning on that. In the RFID, we got a very comprehensive testing in place. Started back in the early 2000s, and we went to Motocall. We've covered all that. We got a lot of people involved from activity standards, which is led by myself and Bill Brownsberger. And then we have the V2X Showing Application Committee. We have OmniAir has actually expanded its working groups from where we have a technical cybersecurity infrastructure in the connecting plus our RFID tolling. We've added a V2X tolling, bringing that in, led by Pooja Devani of HNTB. The meetings are the third Wednesday at 2 o'clock of the month. If you want to go see my webinar, there's a QR code there. We hold Plugfest twice a year, and we have an upcoming Plugfest on June 1st and 15th, and it has a lot of and actually, I'll be doing a presentation under Justin Anderson's USDOT Interoperability Group tomorrow at 2 o'clock. If you want to see what's handy, it's not too late to register and join. We have student hackathon. We have misbehavior detection, security demos. We have a lot of demonstrations. We got our typical testing there, and due to the closeness of Washington, D.C., we'll have a lot of the US DOT and some of their scenarios there. So please join us in that perspective. We did give a tolling workshop on March 26th. We learned a lot. We had 97 attendees, and in that we had an incredible amount of panels and instructions, a lot of interest. We had a direct V2X with Audi, Caps, Intra. We had network V2X, which just starting its standard stuff, in-vehicle payment by MasterCard, T-Mobile, and folks there. We really did learn a lot in that perspective. At the workshop, we did bring some test tools there. You need to learn and understand which one's appropriate. You never have too many good test tools that shows different things between the Consignia, Denso, Edifice, IT Telecom, Iteris, Caps, Keysight, and Waities. You can show, and I bring these test tools and make them involved in, or actually involved in certification in industry deployment. As far as RFID and V2X technology, they're kind of similar. The RFID is a one-way localized scenario, whereas the V2X tolling can go up to 300 meters, but we can actually create a very narrow and tight tolling zone for indication. It has three the protocols there. In tolling, we got the 3GP R14, which is direct, and we got the EU cellular regulatory that go part 15 and part 90. We try to, both are standards based. You can see the differences there. We work security, it's applied, we work applications, and go from there. If you don't know LTE, just go to my website. This is kind of a summary, all the different components in there, where we got security, message set, dictionary. The OBUs are certified, and there's also an aftermarket, which is covered under J3315. Different OBU types. We test the vehicle types. We test the different vehicle types because some of the messages have extensions apply to public safety or motorcycles. RSUs out there, similar to what you call the RFID readers. And so we're very experienced and well-based to move into this V2X tolling. As far as the standard itself, it's under changes right now. It's going to go back in ballot here in the June timeframe. The one thing I do want to point out, the TAM that was embedded in the WSA, we're basically making it a standalone that helps a lot of folks as far as in tooling and seeing it and that stuff. So um, in that, it uses existing V2X OBUs and AVDs. It sends BSMs as security. The two new messages, the TAM, which kind of defines the zone beforehand. And when it goes through the zone, the car will send a tolling user message coming back that's encrypted, be de-encrypted. Our security group is working that process now. And then once the car sends that, the reader sends back the acknowledgement, hey, I got it. Now I'm sending it to the back office, and very efficient way of doing it. Road user charging, J3217/R, which is another standard. It's perfectly suited for the UU network stuff, which going under standardization at this time. And once we get through the 3217 and get its changes, and once the network BX gets a little farther along, we'll bring back in, see if we need to make any adjustments to this standard. I think it was done in 2024 as far as the release date. This is the last slide here. Understanding the environment. Hey, we have a SAE that's going under incorporating industry learnings at this time. We'll be starting a ballot here in June. And this all works going through the V2X tolling application committee. It's open. As far as to learn, we've had quite a few tolling folks come in. We are going to be doing future webinars to bring the wealth of knowledge to the group here. EasyPass has started their internal connected vehicle working group here, which Jake had mentioned. And we hope everybody was willing to participate, get involved in the OmniAir V2X tolling working group led by Peugeot. And it is industry open and the information gathering phase here. I believe it's through the end of this year for certification testing. Thank you, Jake, for helping me give the presentation here. And Burkinda, we have about 10 minutes left. I didn't know if you planned for questions or if there's things in the chat that we need to look at.
Yes, so I do see that there is, so if we can do a stop on the screen share
Okay.
real quick. I do see that there is a question from Andrew. It says, oh, this is about the hackathon. It says, do the tickets for the hackathon challenge cover the full week or is it just for the second? So if you're not planning to test, then you would want to purchase a workshop ticket. So the workshop ticket will cover both the workshop and the hackathon. So hopefully that answers your question. Do we have any questions regarding the content from Jake and Randy? Randy, I know you guys talked about, I guess, a timeline, but what was the realistic timeline from application to granting a certification?
We do a lot of them in the 6 month window. I would say the normal time frame from RFID testing has been about 3 to 4 months. If everything goes smoothly and everything reads positive all the way through, you can get it done in 3 to 4 weeks. That took an incredible amount of effort, and had to run the bench in the field all in parallel. And I wouldn't say every type of product we could do that quickly, but typically I would say in the 3 to 6 month range is what most people do
Okay, perfect.
without experiencing any external issues.
Okay.
And just to clarify, there are some tests that do take a set period of time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we
those
have we have a 1,000 hour UV test, which is like 2.5 months. In the sticker tags. So the 3 to 4 weeks was not a sticker tag because stickers don't have to do the IR UV portion of that.
Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Thank you both for that answer. I do not see any questions, so thank you guys both for sharing today. I appreciate your time. You guys did have a chance to put your information in the chat. I will also make sure that goes out to anyone who attended and also a follow-up for people who weren't able to meet with us today. Before we go, I do have some announcements. I'm going to go ahead and pop up my screen. Maybe I'm going to pop up my screen.
And for Canada, this is a webinar for people can go out and review it and
Perfect. Yes, definitely. They will be able to have access to this once it's loaded. I aim to have it loaded by tomorrow morning. So that's something. Thank you for bringing that up, Randy. All right, one sec. Okay, so as Jake and Randy mentioned, I do believe I put this in the chat already. We do have our new V2X tolling working group. The next meeting is on Wednesday, May 20th. I did see during the presentation, some of you actually did submit your join forms, so thank you for that. I will get to those promptly this week to get you guys added so you can join us for that next week. So a lot of information going to be happening there. Next, we have our Plug Fest coming up June 1st through 5th. That link is also in the chat and will be sent out in the materials after this webinar. So we'd love to have you join us. As you can see, we have a plethora of testing teams joining us. As well, we do have our CAV workshop happening on the 2nd. So our keynote is Michael Halem. We were very excited to hear from him as our keynote, but we have a ton of featured speakers. So go ahead and take a look here. That link again in the chat. And if you guys are not doing testing, if you purchase that workshop ticket, you're able to attend what is next, which is the hackathon. So we have a local celebrity and traffic reporter joining us, Angela Foster. She'll be emceeing along with our very own Brian Romansky. Brian's from OmniTrust. That was recently Integrity Security Services, so not to be confused with OmniAir. But Brian, who is the lead of our cybersecurity group, is hosting our first ever and inaugural hackathon. So he will be hosting these teams that are coming in, and that's going to be another great day. So that's it for OmniAir announcements, but we'd also love to have you join us at ITS Midwest. So that's going to be happening in September. If you are curious about that, please contact Ryan or Will, and they can go ahead and get you some of the conference information and that demo information.